So, students, today I am going to discuss with you all about the industrial production of alcohol, which has been given on your GE paper, Biotechnology and Human Welfare. So, let's get started. So, about alcohol, if I say alcohol, chemically called as ethanol or C2H5OH, this is the chemical name, also known as ethyl alcohol, has been produced by fermentation process for thousands of years. So by the help of fermentation technique, chemically ethanol was being produced from starch, from glucose, and I hope you all know about fermentation. It is a metabolic process that produces chemical changes in the organic substrates through the actions of series of enzymes, and it is the extraction of energy from carbohydrates in the absence of oxygen. So, if I say through reaction in simple reaction way, if this is your glucose C6H12O6 in aqueous solution, with the help of fermentation process, you will get these two molecules of ethanol C2H5OH and two molecules of carbon dioxide with energy. So, by the process of fermentation, chemically ethanol has been produced long before. However, this was mostly associated with the brewer and the distiller industries. So, it is saying that brewer industry, those who make beer commercially, those who have different series of process assortment of process through which beer is being produced commercially, and the distiller industries are those part of the food and beverage industries which are engaged in clarifying, in flavoring, blending, that means mixing and aging the alcohol to make it to make portable spirits like brandies, then grain spirits, rum, whiskey. These are all the different um, distillation products of alcohol which is blended normally by these distiller industries. That means they go for distillation process actually, and we very much well known about this distillation process where we separate the components or substance from a liquid mixture by selective boiling and condensation reactions. So it was mainly done by the brewer industries. The production of alcohol was mostly associated with the brewer industries and distiller industries. At present, most developed countries produce industrial alcohol by chemical means. So, by chemical means, production of ethanol, production of alcohol can be done. The petrochemical ethanol is manufactured by hydration of ethylene. Hydration of ethylene is actually a chemical reaction in which the substance combines with the water. Water will be added to the unsaturated substrate, which is usually an alkaline or alkene in nature. Now here the alkene is your ethene or ethylene. This type of reaction is normally employed to produce your ethanol, or isopropyl alcohol also can be prepared by hydration of this ethylene. So the main reaction which involves in hydration of ethylene, the main reaction which involves in hydration of ethylene is this C2H4 plus H2SO4. Well, we use H2SO4 because H2SO4 is acting here as a dehydrating agent. in the presence of water, in the presence of water, H2O, it will give you ethanol, CH3CH2OH. Okay. So in this reaction, the ethylene molecules or ethene molecules that we can see, it reacts with the sulfuric acid in the presence of this water and generating alcohol, which is your ethanol. And sulfuric acid here is acting as a dehydrating agent. Generally, if you see through industrial process by hydration of ethylene, this ethylene is passed through the concentrated sulfuric acid. Ethylene is passed through the concentrated sulfuric acid to make a compound known as ethyl hydrogen sulfate. So when this ethylene is passed through this concentrated sulfuric acid, it makes this product known as ethyl hydrogen sulfate. Ethyl hydrogen sulfate. Okay. Now this ethyl hydrogen sulfate is then diluted with the water and then distilled. The water will react with this ethyl hydrogen sulfate to produce ethanol when which will distills off. So in this way, by your hydration of ethylene, we can also produce ethanol. Okay, for this reaction, we need sulfuric acid, which will be acting as a dehydrating agent, which will interact with this ethylene to form ethyl hydrogen sulfate. And when this ethyl hydrogen sulfate product is diluted with the water, water will react with this ethyl hydrogen sulfate to produce your ethanol, which will distills off, right? So you can also go for this petrochemical reaction. Nowadays, industries can also go for this petrochemical ethanol production by hydration of ethylene or by fermentation process. But fermentation process is more preferable because it is easy to handle, it is easy to operate. We can easily control this fermentation reaction to produce ethanol. So production of ethanol by fermentation. In recent years, many countries have started the production of ethanol by fermentation process. Now, through fermentation, your production of ethanol can be achieved. How it can be achieved? If I say with the help of diagram, let us see. And before that, it has been said that the organisms and the raw materials that are used for this fermentation process, along with the biosynthetic pathway, the production of and recovery process of alcohol are briefly described. So let us see how ethanol can be produced by fermentation process. So with the help of a bit of diagram, I will try to do it. um, I hope you can able to understand the whole process. Now directly we can take glucose or we can take starch. So we can take starch or cellulose as a starting material, right? As a starting material. Now if you are using starch or cellulose, it has to be processed. It has to be processed, like it has to undergo through hydrolysis. Hydrolysis. Okay, it has to undergo through hydrolysis to produce, so that the starch is a polysaccharide. It is made up of multiple monosaccharide units, so that it will break that glycosidic linkage, that the bonds which joins these monosaccharide units to form this type of polysaccharide like starch and cellulose into glucose. So it will convert into glucose monomeric units, right? Now the main reaction that will be taking place here during fermentation. So the starch is being hydrolyzed to form simple monomeric units called glucose. You can also use cellulose also as a starting material. Now this glucose molecule will be broken down through glycolysis process that will yield two pyruvate molecules. So the glucose molecule will be broken down through the glycolysis process through the process of glycolysis, which is a 10 step reaction you all have studied in your class 11, as well as little bit you have studied in your class 10 school. So through glycolysis, glucose will be broken down and will give you two pyruvate molecules. Two pyruvate molecules. Now, during glycolysis, as this reaction is an exothermic reaction, energy will be released as a result of this type of exothermic reaction in the form of heat and light. These through this glycolysis reaction, during that process, what will happen, it will, the energy which is released during these reactions during glycolysis will be used to phosphorylate, that means to introduce a phosphate group to two ADP molecules, yielding your two ATP molecules. So during glycolysis, what happened during conversion of glucose into two pyruvate molecules? Phosphorylation occurs. The energy released by this through these reactions during glycolysis, that energy will be used to phosphorylate two ADP molecules and yielding two ATP molecules. So here I am just writing here. So the glucose converted into two pyruvate molecules via glycolysis, and during this process what happened, two a phosphorylation occurs on the ADP molecules. So two ADP molecules are being phosphorylated yielding 2 ATP. So energy is produced, and at the same time reduction of two molecules of NAD plus occurs to form NADH. At the same time, reduction of NAD plus occurs to form NADH, right? Reduction means, you all know, addition of hydrogen or addition of electrons or removal of oxygen is known as reduction. So this is the first step. Now after that, what happened, these two pyruvate molecules are then broken down. They are broken down yielding two acetaldehyde molecules and give off two molecules of carbon dioxide. So these two pyruvate molecules, they are broken down to form two acetaldehyde molecules and give off two molecules of carbon dioxide. It gives off two molecules of carbon dioxide. Now for this reaction to catalyze conversion of pyruvate into acetaldehyde, this is done by an enzyme known as pyruvate decarboxylase. It is done by the enzyme called pyruvate decarboxylase. It is done by this enzyme pyruvate decarboxylase, and it also requires some more cofactors like magnesium. It requires magnesium, then thiamine pyrophosphate is also required. It also requires thiamine pyrophosphate for conversion of these two pyruvate molecules into 2-acetaldehyde, right? So next, the last step where these 2-acetaldehyde will be further reduced by NADH to form two molecules of ethanol. So the two molecules of NADH then will reduce this acetaldehyde, two molecules of acetaldehyde, yielding two molecules of ethanol. So this acetaldehyde will be reduced to form two molecules of ethanol. It will be reduced to form two molecules of ethanol. Okay, and that will be done by reduction of this acetaldehyde by NADH. So two molecules of NADH will cause this reduction, and it itself will be oxidized later on. So in this way, your whole series of reaction occur. Obviously, this reaction to convert acetaldehyde into ethanol, for the reduction process that is done by the NADH, this is catalyzed by an enzyme called alcohol dehydrogenase. It is done by alcohol dehydrogenase. Okay, it is done by this enzyme alcohol dehydrogenase, catalyzed by this enzyme. So this is the normal process uh, during fermentation. Okay, and I hope you have understood this part. So let us see what are the microorganisms which are commonly employed during this process. So certain yeast bacteria are employed for alcohol fermentation, and the type of organism, what type of organism we will choose for your fermentation process to yield ethanol as our end product. So the type of organism chosen mostly depends on the nature of the substrate used. Substrate are actually the surface or the material on from which an organism will live, will grow, and will obtain their nourishment, obtain their nutrients. So depending on what type of substrate you are using, whether you are using any cellulose material or whether you are using any starch material, or directly if you are using glucose, depending on that we have to choose our organisms which will, through fermentation, which will give us ethanol, which will give us alcohol. Among the yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Among the yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae is the most commonly used microorganism for alcohol production. So, as the name comes, alcohol production, we use this microorganism, we use yeast known as Saccharomyces cerevisiae to be used for production. And there is a bacteria also which is commonly employed nowadays. The name of the bacteria is Zymomonas mobilis. Zymomonas mobilis. Now this bacteria is actually uh, rod shape gram negative bacterium. It is a gram negative bacteria. It has a unique pattern of their cell wall arrangement. That's why the name comes. That can be found in sugar rich plant saps. Well, you know plant saps. The plant saps are fluid transported in xylem cells or phloem sieve tube elements of a plant. Within that region, we can find this type of bacterium present. So, by using Zymomonas mobilis bacteria, or if I use Saccharomyces cerevisiae, these two microorganisms are ideal for your um, alcohol production. Some more information about other microorganisms that can be used, that can be employed for alcohol production has been given on this table 23.1. Let us see that table. So the microorganisms used in alcohol fermentation, the first microorganism we can use is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Now, to use this microorganism, we use certain nutrient medium. We need a substrate where it will grow, and that substrate that we will use is starch and sugar. What is starch? As I have said, starch is a polysaccharide. That means they are long chain polymeric carbohydrates made up of monosaccharide units, and that monosaccharide units are glucose that are joined to by alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkages. So, with the help of glycosidic bonds, the glucose are joined, and the name and the position, according to the position where the glycosidic bonds are being occurred in the glucose, we name them as alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds. Okay, to form starch as a polysaccharide. Okay, now we all know where starch is found. It is found in your rice, it is found in your corn, potato, wheat, etc. Okay, there is also other my yeast organisms which can be employed for alcohol fermentation. Saccharomyces ellipsoideus, Saccharomyces ellipsoideus, and for growing Saccharomyces ellipsoideus, we need starch and sugar as a source of carbohydrate. Cluiveromyces fragilis, for this microorganism to be used for alcohol fermentation, we need starch and sugar. Same sort of things are required. Now, in case of bacteria, we mostly use Zymomonas mobilis. We need only starch to grow them. That's why there is no such problem for growing this microorganism to get our alcohol product. Then Candida pseudotropicalis. Candida pseudotropicalis is another microorganism. For growth of this microorganism, we need substrate like lactose and whey. Whey is actually, what can I say? Uh, in Bengali, it is says as chanar jol, that is the mattha, or you can say the liquid remaining after the milk has been curdled, after the milk has been strained, the remaining part of the liquid. Okay, so we can use whey as a starting material for growth of this microorganism. Okay, Candida utilis. Candida, for growth of Candida utilis, we use sulfite waste liquor, the remaining part. Okay, so move to the next point now. Raw materials. So there are large number of raw materials that can be served as substrate for alcohol fermentation. So what are the raw materials which are normally used for the growth of the microorganism? They may be broadly categorized as sugary materials. So we can use sugary materials like molasses. Molasses is actually, you can say them as good. In Bengali and Hindi, you can say them as good or jajari, which is a black viscous substance which results from refining the sugar cane, refining the sugar beet into sugar. So during when we are refining the sugar cane juice or sugar beet juice to get sugar, that black viscous substance is called as molasses. Whey, I have already discussed about whey. Okay, glucose or sucrose. So you can use sugary materials directly as a substrate for the growth of this microorganism during fermentation. Molasses, whey, glucose and sucrose. Next, we can also use starchy materials like wheat, rice, maize, potato. We can also use the starchy materials, those materials which contain lot of starch, which are the polysaccharides. Okay, for that we have to just modify them by pre-treatment. We have to hydrolyze the starch to break that starch into monomeric units of glucose. Then the glucose will be employed easily by the microbes for the fermentation process. We can also use cellulosic materials Most of the cellulosic materials are the wood substance, agricultural waste, and I think you know about the cellulose, which is an organic compound, a polysaccharide made up of linear chains of several hundred to many thousands of D-glucose units. They contain D-glucose, which are joined by beta 1,4 glycosidic bond. All the glucose are joined to form cellulose. And these cellulose are very important as a source material here, because cellulose is found everywhere. In the sense of agricultural waste, we can find cellulose. In the wood, we can find cellulose. So it is a cheap source of substrate, you can say. Okay, that can be employed for alcohol fermentation reaction. Some more examples of potential raw materials are given on table 23.2. Let us see some more raw materials which can be used as substrate during fermentation has been given on this table 23.2. So let us see the different type of substrates. As you can see, molasses, sugarcane, sugar beet, these are all sugary materials which contain sugar. Sweet potato, sorghum, whey, sulfite waste, sucrose, lactose, glucose, these are directly can be employed as starting materials for the growth of the microorganisms during fermentation. Starchy materials that contain lot of starch, all the cereals have lot of starch, that I have already said. Not said about the barley. Barley also contains starch, right? Maize. Then starchy roots, roots that contain starch, like your potato root, tapioca, then millets, wheat flour, corn feeds. Okay, the milled products, that means we extracted the flour from the wheat, corn feed, the corn flour that is normally employed for as a starting material for the growth of this microorganism. Cellulosic material are quite cheap and easily available, like wood, sawdust. All the agricultural waste have lot of cellulose. Just we have to pre-treat this cellulose so that the cellulose can be broken down into simple monomeric units of glucose by breaking those beta 1,4 glycosidic linkage. The paper waste, municipal solid waste also contains cellulose in a high amount. So before that we have to do pre-treatment can be done, and depending on what it is saying here, let us see. Most of the raw materials of alcohol fermentation require some sort of pre-treatment. We have to treat the materials, we have to make the materials into such products so that microbes can easily utilize that products and grow well for the product for during fermentation process. Actual process depends on the chemical composition of the raw material. So the whole fermentation process depends on what is the chemical composition of the raw material that we are being using. Generally, sugary raw materials require mild or no pretreatment. If you are using the sugary materials like this one, okay, these all these sugary materials require little bit pretreatment or no treatment at all. While if you are using cellulosic materials, if you are using cellulosic materials, it is given in the next page that cellulosic materials required pretreatment. Let us see. So it is saying that cellulosic materials require extensive pretreatment. Okay, pretreatment simply means pretreatment of raw materials are carried out here in order to produce simple units. Here the simple units are the monomeric units of glucose, so that they can be easily be used as a nutrient for the microorganisms during fermentation process. Like what type of pretreatment we do enzymatic hydrolysis. We use these cellulosic substances to be hydrolyzed by enzyme. Okay, so that the cellulose chains can be broken down into glucose by the action of cellulase enzyme. Okay, to break down the cellulose, we need cellulase enzyme that will break that beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds that occurs between the D glucose molecules in the cellulose, so that the glucose can be easily be utilized by microorganisms during your production of ethanol. Okay, so enzymatic hydrolysis can be done, or treatment with acid. Treatment with acid can also be done, which mild acid solution, which will break those bonds, break those beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds to release glucose. Okay, to release that monosaccharide units that are needed for alcohol production. Now, biosynthesis of ethanol, this has already been I have discussed with you. Still, I am going to repeat this one. So the pathway for biosynthesis of ethanol is given on figure 23.1. Well, glucose gets broken down to pyruvate by the glycolysis process. Many enzymes are involved, isomerase, phosphatase, different type of enzymes are employed in glycolysis. Now, under anaerobic condition, that is in the absence of oxygen, anaerobic condition means in absence of oxygen, pyruvate will be converted into acetaldehyde. So the pyruvate is then converted into acetaldehyde under anaerobic conditions, that is in the absence of oxygen. Pyruvate is converted into acetaldehyde by enzyme known as pyruvate decarboxylase, and then acetaldehyde is then reduced by NADH, catalyzed by alcohol dehydrogenase to form alcohol. So this is the reaction, and this is the diagram that has been given in these notes. So if you are using starch, that starch has to be pre-treated, hydrolysis by using acid, or by enzymatic hydrolysis, or by enzymatic hydrolysis should be done to give you monomeric units like glucose. So the starch will break down into simple units called glucose. That glucose will be undergoing through glycolysis, which is a 10-step reaction to form pyruvate molecules. Now, in the absence of oxygen, this pyruvate will be converted into acetaldehyde by the catalyzed by the enzyme called pyruvate decarboxylase to give acetaldehyde. Now, for this reaction, we require thymine pyrophosphate also and magnesium ions as a cofactor, right? Finally, this acetaldehyde will be reduced by NADH to give you two molecules of ethanol, and this reduction reaction is catalyzed by alcohol dehydrogenase. So, this was the biosynthesis. Now, regulation of the synthesis. Regulation of the synthesis. It is saying that ethanol at high concentration in the medium will inhibit its own biosynthesis. When we are doing mass cultivation of ethanol, when we are producing large quantities of alcohol at high concentration in the medium, it inhibits its own biosynthesis. How? It is observed when yeast are the fermentation organism. If you are using yeast as a source organism for the production of alcohol, then what happened? It has been said that yeast are sensitive to inhibition by endogenously synthesize ethanol. So when yeast are used for ethanol fermentation, these yeast are producing ethanol. Okay, but these yeast are sensitive to endogenously synthesized ethanol. The ethanol which has been produced, that yeast is becoming now sensitive to ethanol. It is not growing, okay, in the medium properly. So to how to overcome this problem? Yeast produce ethanol by fermentation process, that's good, but yeast are sensitive to ethanol. That's why there will be a problem in growth of the yeast when sufficient quantity, when a certain percentage of quantity of ethanol being produced. So some biotechnologists therefore they use bacterium called Zymomonas mobilis, because it can tolerate high amount of ethanol. So Zymomonas mobilis bacteria, it is not like that after during production of ethanol Zymomonas mobilis will be stop in their growth, but yeast occur because yeast are sensitive to ethanol production. After production of ethanol, during the production of ethanol, the growth of the yeast is reduced because they are sensitive. So to overcome this problem, we use bacterium Zymomonas mobilis as a source organism for the ethanol production, because it can tolerate a high high concentration of alcohol, up to 13% by some strains. Okay, so that's why whether we use yeast as a model organism for growth for the production of ethanol, that's good, but as yeast are sensitive to ethanol, that's why we use this type of other microorganisms. We switch on to other microorganisms like Zymomonas mobilis, because they can resist up to high concentration of ethanol even they are producing. Theoretically, it has been said that 1 gram of glucose can be converted into 0.511 grams of ethanol. So, theoretically, 1 gram of glucose can be used to produce 0.511 grams of ethanol, and in fact a conversion yield of 95% was observed. That means we can also yield up to 95% of ethanol when pure substances, when pure substrate like glucose, lactose, sucrose are used. Now, if we are using the raw materials as glucose, lactose, and sucrose, then from those substrate, 95% of ethanol can be achieved. Otherwise, if you are using starch or if you are using cellulose as raw material, only only 50%, according to here it's saying 1 gram will give you 0.511, that is half. That means 50% of ethanol can be produced. For industrial grade raw materials like corn starch, which are derived from corn grains, bhutta, that we know, the yield is around 90%. Now, if you are using cornstarch as a substrate for growth for production of ethanol, 90% of ethanol can be achieved. That means 1 gram of cornstarch will give you zero point 0.9 gram of ethanol, right? It is estimated that 100 gram of pure glucose, 48.5 gram of ethanol is produced, along with 46.5 gram of carbon dioxide, 3.3 gram of glycerol, and 1.3 gram of biomass. So for 100 gram of pure glucose, 48.5 gram of ethanol can be produced, along with 46.5 gram of carbon dioxide and 3.3 gram of glycerol and 1.3 gram of biomass. That biomass is the microbes which are being used if you are using yeast. This will the biomass of yeast cells, which are then again can be recycled for the fermentation process. Now, the production process of ethanol. Theoretically, we have all studied a lot of details about how ethanol is being produced. Ethanol production is carried out in three stages. So, in three stages, ethanol production can be carried out. Preparation of the nutrient solution. Now, this is the solution where the microbes will be growing. Certain conditions will be prepared so that they forced to do fermentation by depletion of oxygen concentration, because fermentation occur in absence of oxygen. And inoculum preparation. What is inoculum? This term you I think you have not heard now. You will hear, you will be familiar with this term when you will study the microbiology classes. Inoculum, I have written the wrong spelling. Inoculum. Inoculum is a small amount of material. It is a small amount of material that contain virus, bacteria, or other microorganisms that is used to initiate to start a culture. If you want to start a culture, we need certain sort of microorganisms. That starting material is your inoculum. Okay, so preparation of inoculum is obviously required. Now for that, what type of microbes you are going to employ for fermentation process for production of ethanol? If you are wanting to use the Zymomonas mobilis, then we have to grow the Zymomonas mobilis separately in petri dishes containing agar, containing nutrients. Petri dishes are round like structure in which we place the medium, we place the culture medium, which is substrated with agar, okay, as a semi solid material where this yeast, where this bacterium will able to grow and form colonies. After growth of this starting material, then we can use them as a starter culture for the production of ethanol. And fermentation proper and recovery. Well, the whole fermentation process occur in a device known as fermenter. Fermenter is an enclosed sterilized vessel that is maintained at optimal condition for the growth of microorganism. So a fermenter is actually a enclosed and sterilized vessel uh, that maintains the optimal conditions for the growth of microorganism. And how does a fermenter looks like? I am just drawing a simplified diagram on based on this. So it looks like this. There is a motor above where there is steering paddles inside. There are steering paddles inside, and okay, so it look like this. Is a small enclosed vessel, and there are also other things also. Certain input things are also there. This pipe is for acid base inlet, acid base inlet, where we regulate the pH of the medium by addition of acid or base in the with the help of this pipe. Then there is nutrient inlet, nutrient inlet, where we add the nutrients. I'm reading in short words. Okay, this is the motor. Then there is a exhaust pipe also, exhaust pipe also. These are the steering paddles. which will continuously mix the medium, blend the medium, and from here the product outlet comes. Product outlet. Okay. There is also a water jacket placed in this region, and this water jacket is mainly to maintain the temperature of the fermenter. There is also a sensor or probe injector in this region. Sensor or probe injector, that is, we this sensor or probe region is actually used to check the pH. It is used to check the pH, oxygen, heat, etc. Now if you are wanting to make a anaerobic condition, oxygen sensor is not required. Okay, so this is a simplified diagram I tried to draw with bare hand here in this mobile of this fermenter, and we actually culture the nutrients within this fermenter, where the whole reaction will take place. So I hope you have understood this part. So the microorganisms are actually undergoes this fermentation process to produce large quantities of our desirable metabolite. Okay, desirable metabolite, which are actually intermediate products that occur during here your fermentation process for commercial use. Now the products can be collected from the fermenter after a fixed amount of time or ongoing culturing process. You will see later on that fermentation are also of two different types. One is called batch fermentation or batch cultivation, and another is called continuous fermentation. Continuous fermentation. You will see them. So let us see the process now. Then I will try to discuss one by one in detail. So you can see the raw materials, either starch, cellulose, or molasses, that has to be pre-treated by hydrolysis with enzymes or by acids, then clarification for removal of the waste products or not required products. Filtration is carried out. Then we have to go for sterilization for avoiding contamination, so that other microbes are not involved. Then pre-culture of that microorganism which are used to be used, fermentation, and then separation of the cell material so that it can be recycled again to be used for the fermentation process again. Distillation is process carried out. During distillation, what we do, we know dehydration using sulfuric acid to get absolute ethanol, denaturation, and finally, actually ethanol can be obtained at this process only, but the remaining products that actually get remained after ethanol extraction, that is your stillage. Stillage are actually your main wastewater from which ethanol production occurs actually, and it is the waste product actually contains high amount of organic matter. It contains potassium and sulfates, which can be used for as a fertilizer for the growth of the crops. Okay, so let us see the process one by one. First, it is saying the preparation of nutrient solution. Now the various raw materials for alcohol production has already been described. What type of raw materials we will use during alcohol fermentation? And the most commonly used raw materials are your molasses, whey, grains, potatoes, and wood waste. More preferable wood waste is used because it is cheaply available compared to the molasses, whey, grains, and potatoes. Now when molasses is used for fermentation, it is diluted with water so that sugar concentration is in the range of 10 to 18%. So if we use molasses for fermentation process, it is diluted with water Why? So that the sugar concentration will be within the range of 10 to 18%. Higher concentration of molasses will be dangerous for the yeast cell to survive, right? Now, when starchy materials like corn, barley are used, they have to be hydrolyzed first, because the starch has to be broken down to release the monomeric units of glucose. And that is, we have to do pre-treatment. We have to do, for hydrolysis we have to do pre-treatment with acids or with enzymatic solutions, like some enzymes derived from aspergillus, from rhizospores can be employed, okay, for this pre-treatment process. It has been said that molasses contain most of the nutrients required for alcohol fermentation. Molasses means what we have said as gur, which is the black viscous substance which results from refining of sugarcane juice or sugar beets into sugar. During that time, we get molasses, which is a good source for alcohol fermentation. However, ammonium salts like ammonium sulfate or ammonium phosphate can be added to the nutrient solution. Why? For supply of nitrogen and phosphorus. So, to supply nitrogen and phosphorus, we can use the ammonium salts added to molasses. pH of the medium should be acidic, that is from 4 to 5. And how you can maintain the pH? Obviously by using sulfuric acid, dilute sulfuric acid, or lactic acid. Now, preparation of inoculum. As I have said, that inoculum is your small amount of material which contain the bacteria, virus, or other microorganism which is used to start a culture. So after selection of the desirable organism, whether you are using yeast or bacteria, and its isolation in purified form, the inoculum is prepared under aseptic condition within the laboratory. Now, for this purpose, we have to make separate medium for the growth of your inoculum, for the growth of the bacterial culture, and for this, we have to separately make a medium, okay, grown that are being distributed in flasks. If yeah, because we are wanting a liquid culture to be obtained, okay, that contain liquid broth medium, where these microbes will be grown aseptically in the lab. And for this purpose, the organisms are first cultured in flask under aerobic conditions, so that they can increase the size of the inoculum, which can be used for the inoculation. It has been observed before that under aerobic condition, that is under adequate oxygen supply, if there is excess glucose, microorganisms can grow very well. But our main aim is production of ethanol under fermentation, so we are forcing the microbes to grow, to go for the fermentation process by making a oxygen less environment, by making an anaerobic condition, okay. So under anaerobic condition, growth of the microbes will slow down and alcohol production occurs. So here we are preparing the inoculum. That means we are growing the microbes. So under presence of oxygen, we are growing the microorganisms in a huge quantity, obviously under aseptic conditions within the lab, right? Then we will use this inoculum for your fermentation process. Now, fermentation proper. Actually, fermentation can be done within the culture medium for the growth of, for the alcohol production, by two ways: by batch fermentation or by continuous fermentation. What is batch fermentation and continuous fermentation? Batch fermentation, in a batch culture or batch fermentation, we use a fixed volume of nutrient culture medium which is added to the fermenter once a time. So we give the nutrients, the inoculum, once in a time, not continuously. and it is added to the fermenter where the cells are grown under specific environmental condition like your temperature, aeration, that means how air is provided. Thus microorganisms has to go through all the stages of their life cycle of their growth before collection of the product. So that means when in batch fermentation we collect the product finally, right? We collect the product finally. And how to get that idea of batch fermentation? If I draw a graph, you can able to imagine. So on the x-axis, if I say it is the time, and on if in the y-axis, if I say the log number of bacterial cell, the log, okay, the log number of cells, whether it is fungal cell or bacterial cell. During batch culture, we give all the nutrients, we give the nutrients in a time. Okay, we are not continuously add the nutrients. There is a fixed volume of nutrients added to the medium, to the fermenter, where the cells are grown under specific environmental condition. So initially the cells, whether you are using Zymomonas mobilis or whether you are using Saccharomyces cerevisiae yeast, the cells will first initially they will first try to prepare themselves to divide, that is the lag phase. Then after getting the nutrients, they will grow exponentially because the nutrients are available, and then after certain time they reach to the peak where it is called a stationary phase. After sufficient growth of the microorganism, because we have added the nutrients once only, so there will be now depletion of the nutrients and the accumulation of the waste products done by the microorganisms. So the obviously the growth of the microorganisms will be now depleting, that is called as death phase. So all the stages of microbes can be observed when we are doing the batch culture. So this is your lag phase, this one is your lag phase where the cells are preparing themselves to divide. This is your exponential phase or log phase, where I have written wrong, exponential phase, where the cells are growing at a high quantity, they get so much of nutrients. This is your stationary phase, where the cells have reached to its peak. That means the amount of nutrients and the number of bacterial cells are quite um, are same. And then as we have given the nutrients only once, so the nutrients will be now getting reduced due to more growth of the bacterial cell, and thus there will be a declining of the bacterial cells, which is called as the death phase. Now, during the death phase, at a certain time, we collect our desirable products. So, in this way, batch culture is being done. What about continuous culture? So, you can see that um, in this batch culture, fixed volume of nutrients are being added to the medium, and the cells are growing under specific environmental conditions, and the microbes are growing through all the stage of their life cycle before collection of the product. But in continuous cultivation, there is a constant flow of nutrients, nutrient medium through the fermenter, so it maintains the steady growth rate of microbes. So in my opinion, if you see here, I am erasing all of them. Okay. So, if I say in case of continuous culture, the growth is in the steady state. Why the growth is in steady state? Why they don't go into the stationary phase? Because we are supplying the nutrients. The nutrients is being supplied continuously. Okay. And through farm in the fermenter, so that we can maintain a steady state growth of microorganisms. That's why the microbes are maintained in exponential phase, so that maximum products here your alcohol can be achieved. Okay, I hope you have understood about the continuous culture, right? That's why there are various advantages of your continuous culture. Continuous culture have many much high advantages. So it has been said that there are several advantages of continuous fermentation. These include the retention of fermenting organisms in the bioreactor by separation and recycling. Actually, in continuous culture, we get high productivity, as growth rate of the cells is high due to continuous addition of the nutrients in the fermentation tank, and it has a little bit low operating cost compared to the batch culture. But continuous culture has also some disadvantage as well, like as we are adding nutrients, so there may be a chance of contamination, risk of introduction of some undesirable microbes. Okay, then cellular stress. Why cellular stress can occur? Because we are recycling the inoculum, we are recycling the yeast cells. When the yeast is passing from one fermenter to another fermenter, there will be difference in the alcohol concentration. If you are using the same fermenter, that's okay, not that will be recycled. But if you are for continuous culture, if you are placing that yeast cells from one fermenter to another fermenter, in the another fermenter there will be a different concentration in the alcohol production, there will be different concentration of the sugar content. And we know that yeast are sensitive to inhibition by the endogenously synthesized ethanol, so there will be a problem to occur. But it has been says that we can increase the alcohol production 10 to 12 times by continuous fermentation compared to the batch fermentation process. Okay, now the industrial production of alcohol is carried out in huge fermenters. Okay, like the fermenters that are used in industrial alcohol production is about 125,000 gallons, so much huge. So we have to regulate them very wellly, and the volume of the inoculum is used around 4% of the fermenter. That means for 125,000 gallons, we use how many grams of the inoculum? Multiply 4 by 100 into 125 gallons, we will get the answer. So much high amount of inoculum is also added. pH is maintained acidic 4 to 4.5, and initial temperature will be 21 to 26 degrees Celsius. But initially, at the starting of fermentation, it will be 21 to 26 degrees Celsius. But when you are continuing your fermentation process, you can increase the temperature to around 30 degrees Celsius. Okay, but it is necessary to use cooling devices like the cooling jacket that I have shown in the diagram. Try to draw in the diagram to bring down the temperature less than 27 degrees Celsius. Ethanol will get evaporated at high temperature. That's why we have to cool down the temperature, because our main product is ethanol here. Our main product is alcohol. So that's why we have to cool down the temperature within in the fermenter to 27. For that reason, we use cooling jackets, we use water jackets, as ethanol will be vaporized at above 27 degrees Celsius. Oxygen supply is initially required for the growth of the organism. Now, for the growth of the organism, we first supply the oxygen. That's good. But later on, as we are doing the fermentation process, we have to maintain anaerobic conditions for them to produce alcohol. So that's why we have to make an anaerobic environment later on. They are created by withdrawal of the oxygen coupled with the production of carbon dioxide. About 2 to 3 days, your whole fermentation process will be completed, and the actual time period depends on what type of raw materials we are using and what is the temperature of incubation, right? So this was about the culture conditions required for during fermentation process. As the fermentation is complete, the fermentation broth contain ethanol in the range of 6 to 9% by volume, and this represents about 90 to 95% conversion of substrate to ethanol. And the overall ethanol production formula is given. I have already discussed this one. Is a simplified formula that you have normally done in your junior classes for production of ethanol from glucose. Now, how you will recover the ethanol? The ethanol that is being produced in your culture medium, it also consists of the yeast, also consists of the cells which are used employed for the ethanol process production. So, how you will recover the ethanol? Ethanol can be recovered through two process, either by sedimentation, which is the movement of particles under gravitational force, right? Or you can separate them by centrifugation. Now, centrifugation is a mechanical process which involves the use of centrifugal force. In physics, we have learned the centrifugal force to separate the particles from a solution according to their size, according to their shape, density, medium viscosity, and the rotor speed. The rotor is the machine which is causing this centrifugation process to occur. Okay, so by centrifugation process or by sedimentation process, we can separate the ethanol from the cell mass. Ethanol from fermentation broth can be recovered by successive distillations. So through distillations, we can separate the ethanol from the broth. By this process, it is easy to obtain ethanol of around 95%. For concentration about 95%, special techniques of distillation has to be adopted. Okay. Now the waste products which are called as tillage, the main waste water from the ethanol production. So large volume of waste which are technically referred to as tillage, they are formed during the course of alcohol fermentation. Now this tillage can also be used for various ways, by using them as fertilizer, by using them for converting into a single cell protein. Now this is a good application of your microbiology, single cell protein, where these are the microbial proteins that can be used as an ingredient, as a substitute for protein rich foods. Okay, several type of single cell proteins can be employed, can be used for as a as a protein substitute. Okay, you can use this tillage to be used as a fuel for the production of methanol. Also, we can use this tillage. Nowadays, we try to engineer, we try to improve the alcohol production by modifying the genome of these microorganisms which are involved in your alcohol production. So, with the advent of recombinant DNA technology, also called as genetic engineering, attempts are being made worldwide to develop new strain or new variety of microorganisms for increasing the alcohol production. So by introducing some of the gene or genes to the genome of the microorganism, we can make a modified microorganism which has more ability, which can cause more ability for them to produce more amount of alcohol. Some success has been achieved in creating more efficient microorganism with the desired characteristics. Like, for instance, genetic engineering has been done by in the microorganisms to improve the production of alcohol, resistance to high alcohol concentration. As I have said, that ethanol at high concentration in the medium causes the yeast cell to reduce its growth. So to avoid this problem, we can genetically engineer the yeast cells so that they can tolerate to high alcohol concentration, resistance to high temperature, rapid conversion of substrate to alcohol. So these are the some ways through genetic engineering that can be used to modify the genome of the microorganism to be able to increase your ethanol production. It has also been possible to improve alcohol production by use of immobilized enzyme in the reactor system. So we can also improve our alcohol production by using immobilized enzyme. Immobilized enzyme are the enzymes which are immobilized in a polymeric substances which has small pores, so that enzyme can mediate their functions. At the same time, we can retain its stability for a long period of time. Okay, so this was all about the alcohol fermentation. In the next lecture, I will provide you the lecture of the production of antibiotics. That is your penicillin. Here it is given in your syllabus. I hope you have understood this lecture. After hearing this lecture, immediately, if you have any query, you can ask. You will ask in the WhatsApp group. I will try to solve them through either WhatsApp audio or through the messages.